Do you think the future of humanity is bright or negative?
Hmm.
My future can be next year, 10 years, 1,000 years. I don't really care.
I actually have someone else.
I'm
go first.
concerned.
I feel like I'm concerned.
I'm a little concerned. I feel like we've kind of really gone into like isolation. Like, and not that we're not still like hanging out in groups, but like we'll be all together and sometimes we'll all be on our phone. And like that puts us in like a different space. But like you'll see in New York City, like I've seen pictures, you'll see 10,000 people and every one of them is looking at their phone. So they're kind of like there, but they're not really there.
Or you see like a sporting event when like there's a famous picture of like LeBron like breaking the scoring record and everyone in the background was
Has
on
their
their
phone.
phones. Not one person was like in there in the moment.
And like I'm guilty of this. I like to take pictures. I like to take video
Yeah.
of things. Like I'll see the most beautiful sunset or like a beautiful mountain. First
That's
reactions.
First reactions I gotta
Grab my
capture.
phone. I gotta capture this for later. But we're not really living.
Do you ever feel like anxiety
in the
that you're not
moment.
sharing it with somebody else too? Like
Yeah,
something's
100%.
something's
Someone's
so
almost gotta
sick,
see this.
and all you want to do is show it to
Yeah.
everybody. It's just like
The first thing I do is when I take a cool picture. This happened yesterday. Like
Yeah.
Sgro took a picture on my phone. The first thing I did was just send it to my family. All right, so Sharia, thanks for having us on. First of all, tell us about your experience at Peddie so far. I'm
He's
actually
the
curious.
host, bro.
No, I know, but I'm curious because
no, but yeah, this is important.
he's been here for
Okay.
4 years. I'm curious.
I guess
on
I
what your
can get
thoughts are.
started then. My experience at Peddie, I would say there are definitely times when I reflect on my time at Peddie and certain aspects of Peddie, and I sometimes have like negative opinions on certain aspects of Peddie as a concept. But saying that, I don't think I could look back at my last 4 years as inherently negative because I think I've had a lot. Ryan, bro, you gonna do this now?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We don't like Petty very much.
I think I had a
you,
good
though.
time.
All right, that's good. That's good.
I think I had a good time because I would say I had a multitude of experiences at Peddie.
Yes.
And I don't know why that is, but I feel like I've changed a lot as a person, like a
Yeah.
lot. And if I look back at my freshman self, my sophomore self, my junior self, and my senior self, and they all came in a room, like if there were four sitting here right now,
4 completely different people.
they'd be like
That's
honestly
cool.
four different people.
Yeah.
And
Do you
honestly,
think that was Petty that did that to you, or do you think that was you that did that?
you see, I wouldn't say that I was the same way in the past. It could have been petty, or it could have just been high school in general.
Yeah.
But it's not saying that all the change was good, but there's definitely been a lot of change. And I feel like because of that, I've had many different types of experiences. And I think another part of that, as I feel like as I change as a person, I think my friend group changes with that. And I don't think I've had like a consistent friend group my whole time at Petty. And sometimes it's a hard thing because I sometimes reflect back, like I see other people that have had consistent friendships and building and building. And I sometimes wonder, is that, was that even possible for me to do? But when I actually think back at like the different person it was at different times, it just, I don't see it as big possible. But um, I know you guys have pretty negative views on things, so let's explore that.
You know, I actually don't mind the institution as a whole. I just feel like certain people make it annoying. But I'm not gonna call them out. But like, you know, as a post grad, we're kind of expecting more liberty, and it's very difficult when we're kind of confined to a lot of things that Petty confines us to. And I think they should revise that for post grads just because we deserve a little bit more freedom. But I mean, it is what it is. We chose to come to high school, and it was a trade off that we accepted. So at the end of the day, it is our choice. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. To add on to that, Petty's a great school. I think I've had a good experience so far. I think, like you said, I've grown a lot as a person. I've noticed myself mature a lot more than I have in my past 4 years at my old school, and that might just be from like living away from home. The teachers are a big difference. Public school teachers are just not the same as they're at Petty. That's a positive, I have to say. Living on your own is fun. I've had some good friendships built, I would say. But yeah, like Sid said, just not having the liberty that you would have at like college is hard. But again, we chose this path, but I think it'll all work out in the end.
In what ways do you think you matured? In the last
Um,
few months?
I would say just like being able to just advocate for myself, like not having to lean on parents as much. Living on my own. Living or learning how to live with people. That's pretty important. Kind of forces you to just like interact with people on a daily basis, like you're living with these people. So I don't know. I think just like socially, and especially academically.
Like you also got to make compromises living with other people. It's kind of something that living in my own space for the last 4 years, I had to worry about. I was a day student at Lawrenceville, but I had my own space. I could do whatever I wanted, but with a roommate, you gotta kind of make compromises. You can't just leave lights on when they want to sleep or
Yeah.
have music blasting. If they were studying or something, you gotta compromise and kind of do what's best. I would say, as like what you guys were saying about liberty and freedom, Sid, you can disagree or agree with me. I felt like there's more restrictions here as to what we can do than there were at Lawrenceville. Like even check-in here is like 2 hours earlier than it was at Lawrenceville for seniors, and there was study hall straight through the winter. And for seniors at Lawrenceville last year, there was no study hall at all.
Check-in at 10 was also much better than check-in at 8.
Yeah, there was like a lot later check-ins, and I thought that encouraged like a better social vibe because kids were out and about and they were expected to kind of do their work on their own time. And if they wanted to do work, they could, but there were more people going out and doing things rather than just kind of sitting in their own space. I thought that was a big difference coming here from Lawrenceville, something that I noticed kind of right away.
Yeah, I agree with the majority piece about rooming with people. My whole roommate situation was a little bit difficult over the last 3 years because I was a day student my freshman year and I switched. But because of that, I made a pretty late switch where I didn't get to choose a roommate because all my friends already had roommates with them. So I got paired with someone who was like pretty bad. In terms of like the sleep schedules.
Name drop.
Who? It's fine.
Is he still here?
Yeah, he's still here.
I mean, like everybody probably knows who it is.
Yeah, that's Alan. Alan.
Alan.
Yeah, I'm nothing against
I don't know who that is.
Shout out Montgomery Calculus.
Anyways, he's in your calculus class?
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably know why then.
Yeah.
Um,
Shout out Alan.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I don't want to like start calling him out on everything right now, but just as a, for the sake of the storyline, in terms of like messiness, in terms of sleep schedules, like so I didn't experience that before because I was always living at home, and I guess it was sort of a challenge to do. It's like I understand, and I would say looking back that I did the greatest job because I don't know if I did the best job of like controlling my emotions and actually dealing with the situation. I kind of took a lot of anger out on him. And,
But you say like, I gotta go to sleep now.
yeah,
That's what I usually do.
and he would make some compromises. That's like, okay, turn the lights up. If they came in the house, keep me up. I'm also pretty light sleeper, so. But I would say that after that, in the last 2 years, I've been in Sweet Style and Avery, which has just been perfect. So I can sleep whenever. I've had pretty good rooms the last 2 years. But visiting colleges and stuff, I realized that the Peddie dorms are actually really good. Because like I was visiting my friend's dorm at Michigan, and it was like really tiny. It made Peddie look like a 5-star hotel.
Yeah.
But
Kind of scary. Going off for 4 years. Worried about the dorms not being as nice as
but it's
they are
okay.
here.
Though. I mean, I guess I already have that experience that I guess a lot of people don't have in boarding.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Stuff. Excited for it though. Excited for college.
Wait, what?
Excited.
Oh,
Excited for college, Sid?
Yeah, dude. Fucking excited.
Columbia.
Sir, baby. Go blue.
I was thinking for a second. I didn't think Columbia was blue.
They are blue.
You're go
but-
blue.
Yeah, you are actually. Well, Wolverines, I guess. But isn't that just football?
It's
just
like
like a
I
Michigan
think it's a
thing.
mascot.
It's just.
Yeah, I think the
It's a pretty
Wolverines.
badass mascot. It's cool. Wolverines.
Yeah, what if we had what if all the sports teams were just competing based on their mascots? Who would win?
Aren't you the Raccoons?
Squirrels. No, we'd be gone. We'd be
Yeah,
out.
too.
Yeah, we'd be
Who
gone
do you-
really fast. Yeah,
The what?
first round elimination.
Yeah.
What do you think the most?
Wolverines.
What do you think the
Eagles,
best
they-
mascot is for any school?
Probably.
I think Rutgers Scarlet Knights are
Yeah,
sick.
Scarlet Knights are
That's
fire.
tough. Yeah, that's tough. Anyways, question for Sgro. If you could die for something today,
Jesus.
That's way too deep. I'm too young to die. I don't want to die. for
I know
anything, if I'm
exactly
being
who it
honest.
would be.
Chill, Sid, chill,
know the
Sid.
answer. Know the answer.
Honestly, it's like I don't think I'll honestly die for anything. Maybe my family, like if it came down to it. But
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Tough
Again, we're too young.
yeah,
We haven't had
I've
enough life experience, but
barely lived.
Yeah.
Also, I think the thing with the question is that a lot of things we want are probably like projections for the future.
yeah.
And if you die today, what's the point?
Yeah.
But yeah. What are you guys looking forward to senior spring? For the second time.
Track.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, honestly,
sports-
just sports. Yeah,
sports.
Because y'all
we kind of been just waiting the whole year for that. Me and Sgro especially, but Yeah, definitely excited for lacrosse. I would say I'm a lot more excited for the year to be over than past years. My old school, public school, you're kind of growing up with those kids and like going through the whole elementary, middle school, and high school thing together. So honestly, I felt like it was more of like a community. I mean, I've only been here for a year, but it felt like more of like a close knit community just because I grew up with those people. So it was kind of more of like it was like, it was kind of like a sad send off in the last couple months. Um, but for here, I mean, I've grown, I've learned a lot. I'm excited to play my last season of high school lacrosse, and then I'm kind of just ready to like move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, I think a lot of us, at least in the post grad sector, feel
Yeah,
like
dude.
we're ready for
Yeah.
college.
We're definitely ready.
I feel
For
like-
us, it was just like an admissions thing. It wasn't like a real developmental
Right.
thing. So we're just like,
I actually want to hear your guys' experiences about high school. When it comes to the whole boarding thing and not going to like a public school where you're
Well, did you
going with
board?
kids. And,
We didn't go.
we were both day students.
right, but like Lawrenceville's like
Boarding school, like
versus like a
what you
public
said
school
about
where,
the elementary school
Oh, yeah.
thing didn't
like just
exist.
growing
Like,
up with kids going to the same school as you, like they're living in the same town as you.
I can really compare public school and private school because I went to public school through freshman year and freshman year. I think you definitely like see kids from when they're young to old. And when I went to Lawrenceville, I like didn't like have close connections like I did at Montgomery. But also, kind of in Montgomery, a lot of my friends kind of left to Lawrenceville,
Mhm.
and then the ones that didn't leave to Lawrenceville, like I just didn't want to stay in that friend group just because I felt the path they were headed on just was not where I wanted to go. I kind of just freshman year kind of cut everyone off because like the friends I wanted to keep close to gone to Lawrenceville. And the friends that I didn't really care about keeping kind of were going off to their own thing. So freshman year, I just kind of like focused on myself and kind of like isolated myself a bit. Then coming in Lawrenceville, like cliques had already developed because I feel like in public school the cliques that develop are more authentic, but
I would agree.
I think when you go to a private school, like people try to artificially create cliques because they're trying to like stick on to people that are less kind of genuine because it's only been a year in high school.
Yeah.
But then honestly at Lawrenceville, I didn't really focus on like the social scene at all. I was more so just kind of focused on school and sports. But yeah, that was basically my experience.
I will say, even though you didn't have like the same connections from like growing up with these people, you spent a lot more time with the people you were around because you were living with them. So time spent with your friends is probably pretty similar to like friends you made in middle school.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you have those extra years, but now you have all these extra minutes and kind of days that have been time to build friendships and have experiences. But it's definitely, you don't have like any of those like childhood memories with these guys. They're just like in high school we did these things.
Yeah.
So like they're a little more recent. But there's definitely people who, you know, feel like our family that I met at Lawrenceville.
Yeah.
I think having a freshman year is kind of the closest thing you get to like kind of everybody trying to figure everybody out. Like by the time you're in sophomore year, everybody, as Sid kind of said, has made their own friend groups. So you're not really getting to know people as well.
Yeah.
Because people are already kind of in their own space. But
also as a day student, like you kind of choose how much you want to spend time with people.
yeah, that's true.
Like you could make it what I did and just like kind of leave after athletics, and then you don't really have like the 5 to 10 p.m. that all the boarders have. But as a boarder, like in the dorm, we were all forced to like be with each other, and that made it a lot easier to like form like genuine friendships. So
Yeah, the day student boarding student thing is like it's a lot different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that as well. But definitely freshman year, I wasn't as social as was.
like all
Especially at Peddie though is what I've heard. Like day students just like it's like they live a completely different
Yeah.
life.
all the admissions departments will tell you like they're seamlessly integrated, and that is
not true.
the biggest lie, or one of the biggest lies, other than when they tell you the food's good.
Dude, food's
that you
awful.
hear.
Honestly, like
Yeah, anybody applying
honestly,
to,
for
to
Peddie,
boarding school, like
I haven't
get a
had-
real
they don't
taste
even
of the food.
invite day students to family style. Like
They're allowed to go.
Are they?
They're allowed.
Yeah, they are allowed to.
What are your thoughts on the Peddie food?
Funny food.
I
I mean,
haven't had too many complaints.
He's vegetarian.
yeah, it's good. It's a bit harder, but I think that I've honestly been fine with it
Yeah.
over the year. I would say definitely coming back after spring week was a little bit of a transition.
Yeah.
And it hit me like, oh yeah, this is petty food. But I guess
Transitioning
I've been
from
able to
those
live with
home-cooked
it.
meals.
Yeah, home cooked meals hit
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, they do.
Sid, I want to go back to what you mentioned with like how at private school you notice the difference between creating artificial personas versus like the more authentic clique that you found at the public
Yeah.
school. And I've only gone to private schools, and I feel like that culture. I've seen that in a lot of people around me, but at the same time I'm in that bubble, so I've never seen a world outside of that. And I guess over time I've kind of assimilated to think that that's how different people are.
Mhm.
And I wonder if you could like describe in more detail the difference between. I know it's been a while since you've been to a public school, but some of the relationships maybe you've held on to, maybe that you remember having at public schools. Like, is there such a thing as an authentic relationship, or do you think that majority of relationships these days are lean more toward that artificial side?
Yeah. So for me, like, I haven't really kept many of the friends I had through public school, except for like one or two close friendships, because I feel like when you kind of leave a school and like go to Lawrenceville, the perception of that is that you're kind of abandoning your town. I feel like that perception was like apparent for me, and I mean, you kind of make a sacrifice in doing that. Um, but yeah, like I feel like in public school, my most of my friendships were just because I was with them for so long, and we had the same group all from like fifth grade to eighth grade,
Mhm.
and then that group completely broke off once all went to high school, and then you kind of have to decide like who do I want to spend time with in high school, and like I honestly didn't have the time to make that decision. I was too focused on like academics and studying. I had to apply to Lawrence freshman year, so I was focusing on getting my grades up. But yeah, I mean, can you just repeat the question? Like,
The difference between the people in private schools and public schools in terms of like building authentic relationships.
yeah, okay. So public school, I feel like there's I feel like it's just two different feelings. Like in public school, you're spending a lot of time with people and there's no real filter. Like I feel like cliques are a lot more established. Like I feel like anyone can go to any table at Peddie and sit down and be
Can I
like
cut you off? What do you mean by clicks?
just friend groups that are created, right? Like that have some idea of like exclusivity. Like you can't just go sit at that table. At public school, like it'd be a lot more apparent if you're not allowed to sit at the table. Like, everybody would look at you weird. They'd be like, "Why are you here?" And there's a lot more of like that in group versus out group dynamic. At Petty, I feel like those cliques are not like you could probably sit at any table and like probably sit there fine and like somewhat be included in the conversation. Maybe because we're post grads, like we don't fully understand all the cliques. But I think at private school, I think the reason why I have kind of like a skewed idea of Lawrenceville where I thought it was more artificial is because I wasn't boarding. So maybe if I had boarded freshman year, like a bunch of the other kids, then I would have experienced that. But like as a day student, going there and seeing like how difficult it was to join like certain friend groups or like the commitment it would take to do that would be like spending so many hours with them a day, which I just couldn't do. That's probably why I perceived it as being more of a clique. Um, Also because like I kind of changed sports. I started off thinking I was gonna play tennis in college. So and then I didn't really want to play tennis when I was actually playing tennis at Lawrenceville. And I never really got along with tennis kids. Then I like got into football, but like when I came to football, they're like, "Who's this tennis player that's coming and playing football?" And then like my junior year, I was like pretty accepted playing football. But then I left to play track to go run track, and then that was already junior year, so it was like kind of all over the place. But I was kind of going through. I wouldn't say changes. It wasn't changing my personality. It was just changing like the activities I was doing. So maybe that's why it was difficult for me to find like a consistent group of people that I was with through all of high school or Lawrenceville. But yeah,
I also think that part of it is like, as you said, you grew up with these kids, and I think that a lot of times when you're younger, you don't have that filter. Like you're not changing who you are when
Yeah.
you're younger. And I think as kids get older, they start to either change who they are, put on these, personas to make friends and to try and feel included. But you don't, when you're a kid, you don't realize that there's like different things and that people do different things. And as you grow up, you start to see, well, these people act this way, and these people act this way, and I want to hang out with these people, so I'm gonna start acting this way and kind of assimilate. And it's like, basic social behaviors. But I think you make friends with these kids who they are, and you kind of know who they are, and then turn the filter off, comfortable around you.
Yeah.
When you're younger, so that's probably why you get that more quote unquote natural dynamic.
right. They're not playing the filter.
Because they're not putting on that filter in ninth grade, being like, well, I want to be this kid.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pretend to be
Yeah.
this way.
That's true. Also, kids just want to have fun when they're younger. Like, you don't really have aspirations per se when you're like 10, 12, 10, 11, 12 years old. You just like on like a travel basketball team and go to school and mess around with your friends. In high school, like kids are focused on getting to college. Maybe they're focused on playing a certain sport in college. It's a little bit different.
If you guys close your eyes and think about the perfect, idealized, authentic friendship that you have is a perception in your mind, or what you've always thought about like an ideal friendship is. Do you think you've ever been able to meet that threshold, or been able to ever find something that's as authentic as you think is possible? Or...
Yeah, I think I have. You want me to go into like the actual person or
Sure.
just like talk about?
Sure.
Yeah, so I've been friends with this one kid. His name's Jackson. Not you. Oh, no, I'm joking. I'm joking. Oh yeah, so we live a few blocks away from each other. And actually met at Kumon too. Yeah,
Kumon?
Yeah,
The back?
yeah. We were like,
That's it.
when we were like 6, 7 years old.
That's
We walked in and our parents started talking. We were like 2 6-year-olds just standing there. And that's kind of where we first met. We ended up going through, what grade are you in 6th? I mean, that's 6 years old.
Kindergarten,
No,
first grade.
that's like first grade.
Yeah, we
one of those.
we probably
right?
met at around first grade and we were best friends. We're still best friends, but we just became closer and closer as the years went on. Middle school was like where it really started to click because that's kind of where you're not like fully matured yet, but you're kind of like you're like in different social groups, the athletes, the nerdy kids, like whatever. I feel like middle school is kind of where that kind of starts to form. Yeah, so 6th, 7th, 8th grade was really good. He actually ended up going to a private school, Seton Hall Prep, 9th grade, and I went to my public school in the same town. And we were kind of worried that like the friendship would branch off and we wouldn't be as close. And like that just didn't happen. Like again, we still lived in the same town. We were still talking every single day. We still hung out just as much. And honestly, I think that made the friendship even stronger. Just not being able to like go to school with each other like every single day, like it kind of made it more enjoyable to like hang out like on weekends or like outside of school because like we weren't together every day. So yeah, 9th through 12th was like a blast. We were still best friends. And back to what you were saying, like the ideal authentic friendship, I would just say like, honestly, it sounds like corny, but I think comfortability is the biggest thing. Like, and just sharing the same humor with someone. Like, if you're able to just sit in a room like in silence with like with someone you call a friend, and it doesn't even feel awkward. Like you're just both on your phones, you're both watching TV, and you're just sitting there like comfortable with that kid. I think that's like a true friendship. Laughing about the same things, like sharing similar humor, both being passionate about a similar thing. I think that helps too. But I think that was the biggest thing with this kid is that, and he's at Syracuse right now. So like, I'm still in high school. Like we're still best friends. But yeah, I think just like being comfortable. We both share the same exact humor, and we're just always like happy to be around each other. I think that's the biggest thing.
Good thoughts.
Do you think proximity during like those early high school years helped? Like being within 3 blocks.
Oh, like
Do you think that made a difference being able to actually hang
Yeah,
out
I would
and
say
rather-
so.
Like if
I
you
would
went
say
to a boarding school,
yeah,
would that have been something that was
yeah.
was different?
I think that because when we were in 8th grade and like he found out that he was going to Seton Hall, and I was like staying at the public school, we were like a little worried just 'cause, like we weren't gonna be like hanging out every day. But yeah, I mean like at the end of the day, we were a couple blocks away from each other, so yeah, that definitely helps. Like now, I mean, he's like in New York, like he's he's living in a different state. It's definitely different, and we're older now. We're kind of just like we're just more mature. Like we're not gonna be with each other every day. It's more of like a we're seeing each other on breaks. Like we'll see each other in the summer. Like and we're just kind of getting to that like stage where it's like we're living our own lives. But yeah, that definitely helped. I would say, yeah,
I
it
feel
would be
like
a lot different.
it seems at the time apart made it stronger, right? Because then the times you spend with them are actually more meaningful, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Really seeing that.
Yeah, but the biggest thing I would say is just comfortability.
Yeah.
And I think Peddie helped a lot with that this year. Yeah, back to what Jackson was saying earlier, like when you're living with people, it kind of forces you to just like be embraced in that like culture of just like just living with people. Like you're literally with each other all day. There's no like going home and then like meeting back up on like for like a party or like a weekend or like at practice. Like you're literally always with that person or like that group of people. So I think like friendships this year especially have grown a lot faster than they would have at public school. Yeah.
How many hours do you think we spend together in
The
our hallway?
dorm?
Right, it's probably we probably
Yeah.
spend like 16 hours a day, like
In that
hanging
fucking
out.
dorm,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it could also go the other way, right? When you spend so much time with someone, you get sick of them. Think that's ever happened with anyone in the dorm?
I feel like we're not getting sick of each other. You just make the same fucking jokes.
I
all
think
the time,
I
honestly.
I think at this point, Sid was saying this the other day. I think at this point in the year, it's about to be April. I think at this point, everyone has kind of found like, I mean, everyone was cool in like September, October, but again, like in freshman year, like you're still kind of figuring out like like who's who exactly. I think at this point in the year is like where it's kind of like I don't want to say finalized. I don't really like that word, but like it's kind of just like set like who hangs out with who, who's comfortable being in each other's rooms. Like I noticed a lot in the beginning of the year. There was a lot more like movement from like room to room. Everyone would kind of be in each other's rooms. Now it's kind of just like the same people
In the same room.
in the same rooms. Yeah. And honestly, I mean that's fine. Like everyone's kind of found their who they want to hang out with. So I think that's fine.
Do you think this group of friends you have right now, you think those will stick or beyond petty?
For sure.
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're authentic friendships. Again, comfortability. We wouldn't be hanging out in each other's rooms after dinner from like 7 to midnight, just mess around with Onion like the whole night. We wouldn't like we wouldn't just be like together the whole night with but yeah, I think it's
I mean, we did out of school too. We went on some trip.
yeah, that was fun.
What would you look forward to?
College or just anything.
I'm looking forward to the summer. Not doing homework. Trying to work on myself and
Yeah, I'm looking
probably
forward
work on it, get a job, make a little bit of money, and then also
What are you gonna do?
I don't know. I'm trying to base out of the beach.
Really?
Go down to like Wildwood and
I have no idea what
I'm
get
a
a
DoorDash
job
guy.
down there, and then hopefully play some baseball. Not hopefully play baseball. Play a lot of baseball this summer.
Surf.
That's kind of my plan. Surf. Live.
You going on any trips?
Probably no trips. Probably gonna just stay around here.
So what are you planning for the summer?
Dude, I want to see the Olympics, bro. It's gonna be sick.
100-meter final.
What?
100
Yeah,
meter final?
the 100-meter final.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Take
Also
some notes.
going to going to the UK and gonna go to Italy after that. Then I have also gonna see my uncle in San Francisco in July. Going to a few meets down there, and then I have track meets all the way through July, like mid-July.
With Columbia or?
No, just one attached.
It's for track or like our meets like games because like in baseball if you don't play games you don't get the same kind of like there's like a part of the sport that's about like compete like the competition part of it.
Yeah.
Would you say that meets help you run faster or is that something that's more like you just need to do it in order to improve yourself?
Well, it's like you got to train for something, right? And like I have like an opening meet in April 12th, so like my mind's just kind of focused on training for that, and then you kind of move to the next thing. I feel like in the past there's been times where I haven't competed as much, like last indoor season. I feel like I just didn't improve as much because like I didn't have the next thing to focus to. But also every time you run, it's another experience. Like you could say that a competition is training itself because like you're sprinting at the end of the day. And yeah, like if I competing, it's such a short part of track because it's like 10 seconds long in the 100.
Right.
But like there's a whole build up to it. Like the whole week feels like preparation for it. Night before, like the whole morning up till it. It's kind of like a whole experience. And it's kind of like the culmination of all your training. I actually don't really like the feeling of competing just because like I'm just sitting in angst for like fucking 4 hours. And then like even if you PR, you still feel depressed after a meet. I don't know why, but like the reason I equated it to is because like it's like a super huge spike in dopamine
Right.
and then it just crashes, right?
Stimulation.
Because you have so much caffeine, so much stimulation, and then you just crash. So like even if you PR, you still like feel like shit after.
That's interesting.
And
But I know
if
that
you
with
lose, you feel like shit, obviously. But like
I know people find a lot of fulfillment to the sports they play, right? I mean, when you're like working hard or like working a baseball game, but just the other thing, it's so short. Yeah, it makes it such a unique sport. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I know in baseball at least you get a lot of opportunities to do things throughout each game, right? For Sid, he gets one opportunity. The guy goes off and runs for
yeah.
1 or 2 events, and then that's it. In baseball, like, yeah, you only get 4 at bats, and those kind of feel like isolated events. But then throughout the game, you get a bunch of other opportunities to compete, like, and try and scheme and outwit the other team. And I think that helps to like prolong that feeling of competition and make sure so it's not that like really short spike, like what you were talking about in track where you run and then it's over.
It's
and
fucking over.
that's
Is it hard to like not get in your head in baseball? Because I know for lacrosse,
Yeah.
like, I know for lacrosse, it's like like a 48-minute game, and it's like you don't really have time to kind of like just like be in your own head if you make a mistake. Like the game is just going. Which is kind of-
At least for me, the only thing that I find like difficult as far as getting in my own head is the time in between, like when my at bat finished, if I didn't have success,
Right.
when I go
Next.
back out into the field. Like those, if it's like 5-10 minutes, like you kind of sit there and you like reflect on what
And
just
just thinking
happened.
about, yeah.
Like, well,
I feel like that's
I'm
the hardest
not
part
gonna
about
hit that.
baseball.
but
Yeah.
I really enjoy playing defense. There's a lot of people who hate playing defense and only care about hitting. And those, I think that they seem to struggle more from at bat to at bat because they're not focused on the defensive part of the game.
Yeah.
But I take a lot of pride in my defensive play, and I really enjoy playing defense. So I'm pretty good at moving it on. Like this is my next task.
Yeah.
So I focus on that. And then
What
by
are
the
your
time I hit
thoughts
again,
before you go hit? Like, do you ever get intrusive thoughts? Like
yeah,
you're walking up to the
definitely. You think about all sorts of things. Thought of hitting a home run starts to creep into your head, and if you try and hit a home run, you never hit a home run.
Yeah.
Ground out to third base every time. But for like what I try and think to like center myself is I try and look out at the outfield and I see like all the green space in
Mhm.
between the outfielders and think about like how much space there is out there. Then all I got to do is hit a ball well enough to find a little bit of that green space, and then I'm gonna have success. So that's kind of how I help to like reset myself. So all I got to do is find green space.
Do you guys have like pre-game or pre-meet like rituals or things you do to like get yourself in the right
Yeah,
mindset?
like I'm always super confident when I'm like doing practice starts and warming up, but then when I'm just in the heats, like all the intrusive thoughts start coming in.
Like,
and it's
what do you
just,
mean in
like,
the heat? Like just
like,
right before like the
heats are basically like you're lined up and then the person at the front of the line is in the blocks going on
Oh,
doing his
yeah,
race.
yeah.
So like you're just waiting to go and
Just
like
anticipation.
Yeah.
you're just like constantly moving so you stay loose.
Mm-hmm.
And
But
I
your
don't-
mind is probably just like
yeah, your mind races, but like
Do you think music helps at all?
yeah, but you can't have
Or-
headphones in the heats.
Uh,
So you're especially because like sometimes, especially at like big meets like nationals, like last time, they held me for 30 minutes in the heats. You're fucking standing there with your competition, all of them, lane 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're always standing with them for fucking 30 minutes. And you're getting like you're losing your warmth because you're just standing there waiting because they're like 30, 40 heats of dudes. And you're just like standing there waiting and you just go through a bunch of thoughts.
would you say that like that part of like track is kind of like something you don't like or
Yeah, I don't like that at all. That I won't really have that at college because they're like high school, there's so many kids competing.
yeah.
In college, there's a lot less heats and a lot less competition. So not like worse competition, like less people competing. So you're not gonna have to like stand in the heats and they like treat you a lot better. But yeah.
I think wrestling's right in the middle because it's not just like one or two sprints or it's not full bats, but it's also not like a full 1 hour. It's a 6 minute thing. And
Yeah.
if you don't know like the way like wrestling meets work is that we go by the weight. You've probably seen a couple of them. We'll go in order of the weight classes. So usually I'm pretty like first up because we start at 106 and I'm like 120. So I don't have enough time to really like get in my head. I'm usually out first, and that helps a lot. But sometimes you start in the middle, and it definitely is possible to get in your head, and I think it's happened to me in the past. But I think this year, like, it really taught me that I only perform well when I'm not in my head, and it's really evident when I'm in my head. I think that's the biggest factor.
What do you see? What do you mean by like in your head? What would you say?
It's-
Like overthinking, lots of thoughts.
It's not, yeah, I think it's overthinking, but honestly, a lot of times it's not even related to wrestling. I think being there at a wrestling meet contributes to it,
Yeah.
but the thoughts itself might not necessarily be about wrestling. And it's hard for me to, it's been a while since I've been in season, but I just remember reflecting back that there've been meets where I feel like before I go up to wrestling, there's a lot of those like intrusive type of thoughts about life in general. Not every time, but there's been a few times. And I think the meet out against Heightstown really showed the difference between them because the first match I was in my head and I wrestled bad. Second match I got out of my head somehow because it was like Heightstown's senior day and it was really hyped. The lights off and music playing. I think that helped me get out of my head and get me back into a state where I love the sport. And because of that, I won that match. And I really saw the contrast because I think the first match was one of the worst matches I've ever wrestled. The second match, one of the best. And I think it's just the fact that changed was like, I guess my appreciation for the sport and how much I was like thinking about it.
Do you think there's like anybody? Because I always hear this, like a really fierce competitor, like he's a really good competitor. Do you think there are people that like really thrive in like the minute, 2 minutes before they're about to go out and to compete? Is there people that don't have like intrusive thoughts that just like thrive in that really kind of competitive environment where you're just about to go?
I think it depends.
I feel like everyone gets intrusive
little
thoughts
bit.
to an
You think
extent.
so?
Yeah,
people
I think
follow-
that makes people perform better. Like it
Some
depends on the person, but like you're gonna have to face it one way or another. Like whether it be like 2 minutes before your match or you're about to hit, you're about to run. Like you're gonna have to face it, and it's just I feel like some people handle it better than others. Like because I feel like if you're not getting nervous, I mean, what do you mean by like in your head? Like just like nervous, like just questioning yourself.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I feel like everyone gets like I feel like everyone has that a little bit. I feel like that's what makes you like
Human.
yeah, and I feel like that's what makes you like honestly perform better. It means you care about the sport first of all. If you weren't nervous, like it sounds cliche, but if you weren't nervous about something, like you wouldn't like it wouldn't really mean much to you. Like I get nervous before every game. I get like really nervous, and I used to think like music helped with that, like just bumping like drill rap. Like I used to think that helped, but honestly, like that doesn't even like do much for me. I feel like it was kind of a placebo effect. Like I would think like, oh, this is getting me hype, like this is getting me in the zone, but like I've noticed recently, like breathing is honestly the biggest thing that's helped me. We were talking about that the other day, the Wim Hof technique. I think that's the thing that helps me the most because it just kind of forces you to be in the moment. Like when you're listening to music, for me at least, like I'm like just bumping my head and like I'm thinking inside like this is like preparing me, but it's really not. Like it honestly just makes me more anxious when I'm breathing and just listening to that. Like I don't know if you've ever done the method before, but that just like meditation music in the background. It forces you to focus on your breath. It forces you to just be grounded in wherever you are. And when you're done with that, like 10 minutes or whatever it is of breathing, you just, me personally, I do it like anytime I'm stressed, anytime before a game, anything. You just feel so like, you just feel so good. You feel relaxed. You feel like happier. You feel just like ready to go. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
To Sid's point, does anyone not feel it at all? I think people, as Ryan said, they feel it at different degrees, but also they found different ways to commit it,
Yeah, it's
which I think changes like the degree to which you feel. Because if you never felt nervous, you'd just done it. But you would be fearless. You'd talk about something.
I've actually one time felt no nerves before a race. It's because like it was in North Carolina and it was this was the meet I was telling you about where I ran 1085. But that was like my big break because I'd never broken 11. I ran like 300s before that, and my goal was to like break 11. And 100 wasn't even my main event. And then when I hit it, really unexpected because I did not think I was going to run fast in the next day, but I thought it would be my main event the 200. Like I just couldn't, I just didn't give a shit because I was like, fuck, I already got fast. Why does this matter? Well, like I was still going to go out there and sprint, but I had no nerves and I was like legitimately sleepy in the blocks. Like, I was actually tired and like I just did not run well at all.
I've never really talked about this with other athletes. Like, what are your guys like? Like, do you guys kind of just accept the thoughts that you feel, or do you try to fight it, or do you kind of just like what do you guys do for like just like that?
Because
Trying to think about something else.
Okay.
Yeah, but whatever I need to think, like whatever I need to think about for you, right? You need to think about like what it kind of sounded like. You need to think about the music and like your breath, and that helps to clear some of these
Yeah.
thoughts. I think that you need to find something that can center you so you can kind of drop the nerves. I think that nerves are part of every competition. You're gonna feel something, but if you can't clear those nerves, you're gonna be tight. Something that I wanted to ask you guys is like, what are your thoughts on having expectations about success during an event?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good question. I want to get to the expectation piece, but to
I think-
answer Ryan's question real quick, I think there's two things I do to combat the thoughts. The first thing is I do the same thing you do with breathing. I sometimes get nervous before podcast shoots because I guess I put this pressure that if I sometimes I look back at my old videos and I try to critique them because
Yeah.
I used to say like a lot, I used to say a lot. I'll talk really fast. Maybe I'm still doing it today, like rolling over words. And I've been trying like a lot to speak slower to try to articulate what I'm saying and say more coherently. And I think that strikes nerves for sure. So I think breathing, I do that before every podcast. I try to at least like even 3 to 5 minutes. It's like a meditation type thing. That helps a lot because it helps me be present. And
Mhm.
I think for a podcast, being present is the best thing you can do.
Yeah, I agree.
'Cause then you can listen properly. You can like respond properly. Um, and the second thing I do is I try to find a love and appreciation for the thing. Like when I get nervous for a wrestling match, I remind myself how much I love wrestling. And that helps me a lot because then it makes me feel like I'm doing something for the love of it instead of trying to meet some expectation, which could be a good transition. For the exercise.
That's a true stuff.
Wait, what was your question?
What are your thoughts on
Setting
like
expectations.
yeah, setting an expectation during an event? I know for myself
During?
that yeah, like during an event, like when you're let's say you go into a game and you expect to score 3 goals today. Like, does that help you? Does that hurt you? I know in training, setting expectations for myself helps me perform better. But in events, I find that it can also often be like a limiting factor.
I agree with that. I think setting expectations for yourself in training is, for me at least, is more important than doing it in the game. Like the game is just the time where you just like whatever goes. Like you're just letting all your training out on the field or on the track, whatever. Like that's just giving you something else to think about, like something unnecessary to think about. For me, I know some people like set expectations for themselves, but I feel like it's more important to that in training because that's where like the results come out is like on the field.
Yeah, I think in training, like, even though it can make training a little less enjoyable, like setting an expectation and having like being really hard on yourself can be really positive long term, especially to like success during a competition. Because obviously, if you're being more critical of yourself, you're going to probably work efficiently and effectively. But I completely agree with that. If I set an expectation for myself in game, I feel like I always try and live up to it.
Yeah.
And in trying to live up to it, it creates a lot more stress and a lot more nerves. And
Stress throughout the game. That's just unnecessary.
You start to feel tight. You're like, well, I should have scored today. And you didn't score, then you start kind of pressing in the second half,
Exactly.
or the fourth inning. You
Start
start
playing
to
a little different. Yeah.
Well, I never try to set expectations for outcomes. I try to set them for like process-based expectations, right? Like, I won't make a goal like get 1,000 subscribers. I make a goal that don't miss a single day of posting type thing.
Yeah.
And if I don't meet that, I'm happy with feeling dissatisfied
Yeah. Right.
because then focusing on what you have control over gives you a lot more agency and kind of change some external thing for sure. But sometimes it's good to have positive emotions and to reduce the expectations. But I think for the most part, I think expectations are a good thing because if you feel satisfied with your life without having what you want, you'll never get what you want. And I think there's a balance you have to find, obviously, because on a spiritual level, obviously, you want to feel satisfied with your life. But I don't think we should flag expectation and dissatisfaction as an inherently bad thing. I think it can be a good thing, even to feel negative emotions.
Yeah.
Because I think they help you get better. Right? When you were saying like you critique your videos, like that might be flagged as a negative thing, but by critiquing your videos, it helps you make a better next video. So that negativity helps create something positive, if that makes sense. But
Yeah, I'm gonna check the camera.
Leo called me. I'm guessing he wants to come. Yeah, what is it? All right, see you. He doesn't want to go on the podcast. He was asking about the calculator. I thought he was gonna show up.
Let's get into something juicy.
I gotta dip in 8 minutes though. Just over that.
so quick and juicy. Yeah.
Let's change up the topic.
We got.
I don't know. Let's just
What do you think the future of humanity is bright or negative?
Hmm.
My future you can be next year, 10 years, 1,000 years. I don't really care.
I actually have. Someone else
I'm
go first.
concerned.
I feel like I'm concerned.
I'm a little concerned. I feel like we've kind of really gone into like isolation. Like, and not that we're not still like hanging out in groups, but like we'll be all together and sometimes we'll all be on our phone. And like that puts us in like a different space. But like you'll see in New York City, like I've seen pictures, you'll see 10,000 people and every one of them is looking at their phone. So they're kind of like there, but they're not really there.
Or you see like a sporting event when like there's a famous picture of like LeBron like breaking the scoring record and everyone in the background was on their phones. Not one person was like in there in the moment.
And like I'm guilty of this. I like to take pictures. I like to take video of things. Like I'll see the most beautiful sunset or like a beautiful mountain first reactions.
First reactions, I gotta
grab my phone. I gotta capture this for later. But we're not really living.
Do you ever feel like anxiety that you're not sharing it with somebody else too? Like something's
100%.
something's so
someone's gotta
sick,
see this.
and all you want to do is show it to everybody. And you're just like,
The first thing I do is when I take a cool picture. This happened yesterday. Like Sgro took a picture on my phone. The first thing I did was just send it to my family. Like you or like your friends. Like you just want everyone to see it. Or like if you meet, like if you get like
if you meet somebody.
if you meet someone famous, it's like screw talking to them. Like you want to get like a picture with them so you could send it to all your friends, post it in your story.
Or-
Kinda all about just like
like capturing where we've been rather than like embracing where we're at.
there's a Black Mirror episode on that.
I think
that's a difficult.
And that's a little scary to me.
I think there's a
Even like a nice view, we just have to like, take a picture and share it. Like I don't feel when I see a nice view, I feel anxious. I was like, fuck, I didn't.
yeah.
How
no,
am
I
I
know
gonna
what you
capture
mean.
this and show it to them?
I think there's this fear that we want to make good moments last forever. So immediately when there's a good moment, we want to somehow preserve it.
Yeah.
And we try to, instead of being there and enjoying the moment, we try to save it in a rectangle device for some future reference. And we just kind of ruin the moment itself because you can't.
You're not really preserving it in your like your mind. You're kind of just you have it on like your phone, but like
It's not in
were
the
you
game.
really
You won't
like
get the
there?
game
Were you
emotion.
really there
Yeah.
like in the moment, or were you kind of just like focusing and capturing?
It's actually interesting because I looked through my camera roll. I don't really take that many pictures, and I kind of wish I did.
No, I-
Like I just like don't remember a lot of the things. So I'll sometimes scroll my camera roll. I have like very few pictures of anything, and I do kind of wish that I did take more pictures just so I could like remember a lot of the things because you got to realize like a lot of your memories you can't retrieve unless like something cues you towards it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you had a picture, there's also the benefit of being able to like jog your memory of this is what I did. So I feel like with anything, there's always going to be pros and cons. I think phones, like most kids nowadays, have like their whole life, who are like my cousin, for example, his whole life has been captured on my aunt's phone.
Yeah.
And like, I mean,
That's nice.
I
It's
just,
true.
he's gonna like, they're gonna be able to like look back at this time and it's like remember so much stuff. So
I agree. I
I
think
I
there's
think that's cool, but there's downsides.
I agree with the pros and cons. Like when I look back to memories or just pictures, videos I took of like 2017, like when I was in middle school, like I really appreciate the fact that I like took those.
Yeah.
I think that our phone, like pictures and videos, we can't time travel, but as far as going to the past
yeah.
and like experiencing things in the past, like it's as
Good.
close as we can get to
Yeah,
traveling through.
yeah, I agree. So,
Because you remember, like
Yeah.
you just remember, like you know how you just access a memory randomly because something cues you towards it.
No, I feel it.
That,
You
that's
feel
like a
those
good
memories and
experience.
you have like
You know
a
what?
visual to go
I
with it.
think that
Feels real.
I think maybe a few weeks ago I felt this because I took a lot of photos like freshman, sophomore year. I think in junior when I stopped using my phone as much, there's just not as many photos there. And I scroll back, like, oh, there's all these great memories in freshman year, sophomore year, and then junior year just kind of empty.
yeah,
And, like I could see the difference, and I can think back to I've had good memories. It's just I can't see them on a phone. And then it's like, okay, well, there's the pros and cons. How do we find that balance? Because I remember we'd go on trips, with my family, and then every time we go anywhere, there's this picture,
Yeah.
picture. And that would get annoying to me because I'm like, I'm sitting by the lake, like by some at nighttime, and they like I was a little bit ahead of them when they were walking. They came to me like, oh, let's go take a photo, let's take a photo. I'm
Yeah.
sitting here, but I don't know where to find the balance.
Yeah,
you know?
it's
Like I
interesting.
think maybe when you see a sunset, sure, you don't have to take a photo of that. Maybe that you try to be conscious of the fact that I'm trying to enjoy this moment, but at the same time, maybe limiting it, like maybe taking a few is okay for that memory piece. But I think looking back at memories is a great part of life.
again, like when you're, for example, like sitting at a sunset, I feel like it's not so much like taking the picture because again, that takes like 5 seconds. It's more just like that's the first thing you think of. Like when you meet someone cool or like when you're at a cool like spot, it's like that's the first thing you think of. It's not so much like taking the picture because I think like this is like Sid said, it's cool to have memories for later, but it's just like kind of scary that like our first like even in like not even just like for memories, like your first thing that you do at like a lunch table is like check Instagram, like looking at your phone. Like you sit in the classroom, you're the first one there, look at your phone, you know?
Lack of presence.
Yeah, lack of presence.
I hate when I'm like,
We're all guilty of it except for Shard.
I'm not guilty of it.
Are you still on the 20 minutes a day?
It's more like 30 or 40.
What do you think is like
Major slacker, major slacker.
what do you think is like the biggest thing about not going on your phone? Like, what do you notice the
Yeah,
most?
what's the
Biggest
biggest change?
improvement?
Yeah. When I start on my phone, I'm just looking when I'm getting picked up.
Yeah, for sure. I would say I feel more present, I think.
Yeah.
I say I think because it's happened a while. I did do it a while back, and I remember at first these are definitely I think it's kind of become like normal now-ish. But it feels good to not feel the need to do that whenever you're bored.
Mhm.
Right? Like I went to the diner alone this morning because it was like 7 in the morning. And I wanted to eat like 3 meals in today. So I could sit there and scroll on my phone, but I decided to just sit there, and I felt better not feeling the need to just scroll. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You're waiting in line for 5 minutes. Or I mean, I hate when I'm like driving at a gas station, I look at the car over, there's like her mom on her phone and like she's sitting there next to her on her phone as well, her daughter sitting on her phone as well. You walk into a restaurant and like there's just 4 people sitting on their phone. Like
Yeah, it's a bad
um
look.
I think it definitely pulls you out of that bubble. You can see everyone around you kind of in that bubble-ish. And then you can see like the past life you lived.
Do you read?
Yeah.
What books do you read?
Quite a diverse. I mean, a lot of nonfiction stuff, but
How many pages or like how many hours of like just like non-school work? Were you
Yeah,
doing?
outside of school.
a day. I don't read as much as I used to, but It's been on and off because there've been times where I read a lot. This time, like over the summer, I might read like 30 minutes to an hour a day. Now it's maybe like I'll read it like 2 or 3 times a week on a weekday if I have time. But I try not to like measure the hours or anything. I try to just do it if I want to and if I want to enjoy the process of it. But yeah. I think reading is good. Sure, you're learning stuff, but it's good for attention span
100%.
because it forces you to like sometimes I'm reading and I'm counting the page numbers and I'm just my mind is doing that same like calculating thing again. I used to do on my phone, like, oh yeah, page 1, page 2. But I think just try to force yourself to like just read the damn book.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
problem I have
don't
with
look at
reading
the
is
numbers.
really unhealthy. Is like especially if it's for school and I don't like the book, is like I'll like set like little goals for myself. Like, all right, once I get to 10 pages, like I'll give myself a little break.
So
Yeah, it's just like it's so bad.
Yeah, but
I
that
hate that. I
reading
hate
for
that
school takes
mindset.
the fun out of it, though.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
I feel like it sounds like an underutilized thing. Like there's gonna be the shock when you start to read of like it's not as like attention grabbing as looking at your phone. But then after a couple of days, that goes away, and you actually really enjoy it.
it's a fun process.
But
Especially if it's
One of
like
my favorite.
if you don't want to read about it, then it's
especially if it's like your choice to go buy the book,
yeah.
go read it.
One of the
Like,
biggest changes I made is that if I don't enjoy a book I'm reading, I put it down because I force myself to finish books I hate and just like a wasted time reading books because I feel like so bad quitting a book in between it.
yeah,
But that's an important thing, right? Because books are gonna go, they're gonna like go in between being boring and fun, and like you're gonna have to go through some of the boring
Right.
parts to get back to the fun parts. Because like my uncle was saying this, he was like, try not to like stop a book if it gets boring, because I mean it's kind of the same thing of like being on your phone looking for like more stimulation. Like you got to take. It's never gonna be just fun. There's gonna be boring parts of reading, but that's just like kind of comes with it.
There's been some books I've really enjoyed though. I think one of my favorite ones I read in fall term was Mastery by Robert Greene, which is like this amazing book that breaks down 50 or 60 masters of history who've like mastered their craft. Like for example, Leonardo da Vinci or Albert Einstein, and analyze their life stories and like, takes out principles that they all followed. And it was really amazing book because it really showed you that. I think one of the things I really liked about it is like the uniqueness of each individual. Like they only succeeded at what they did because they absolutely love what they did,
Mhm.
and they weren't really chasing external outcomes that just happened to happen because they were so immersed in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can definitely find books that you just enjoy reading. Murph and Jack, you guys read.
Yeah, I read. I used to read more. Wish I did read more now. But one of my favorite feelings in the world is when you like stop.
Motherfucker,
reading.
you do not read, man.
I do read. I do read. I do read. I do read. I don't read a lot
fucking
here.
Instagram reels, bro.
No, I do.
So chill out.
Instagram way too much, but I do read. But one of my favorite feelings in the world is when you're reading a book and you put it down and you like start thinking about the book again.
yeah,
Well, also, I feel like
that's
you
one of the
find a lot
best
of enjoyment in like art. That's sick.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
I
Like
agree.
that, I think
find a lot of
that's
enjoyment
good.
in
Being
that-
appreciative of art is like
Okay.
Because he loves art, right? And like that's, I mean, that's also like really good. That
Like
Yeah.
making art or like just looking at it.
More making art. I don't really like looking at art.
like, I
I
can't
think a lot
access
of
that.
art's really dumb. I really
Watering
do.
through swig.
Yeah, too much going on in there.
Like we make fun of it, but it definitely is like a cool thing that I just
yeah,
can't
Sgro
do.
loves making art.
But I do like reading, contrary to what they say. I don't read a lot here. I don't read a lot. That's a fact.
Yeah, I've never seen you read it.
When I was younger, I was a huge reader. Like in like 8th grade, I was like a 30, 40 books a year kind of person.
Okay.
Jesus.
But
But
you're the type to post all the books you read.
no, I used to have like lists, but they weren't like long books or anything. I have
You guys,
a nice book.
you guys big movie guys?
Not really.
You
I like
I think
movies.
lately, no man.
I think
Movies are
movies
great, though.
I think movies are good for you too.
I like movies better than like a series because it's something that you kind of commit to for like.
What do you think about how movies change your perception of time? You think that's
It's
real?
one of my favorite feelings ever. I love when
Wait,
especially in like a
go
theater.
more into that. What do you mean?
Like how they condense a year or 2 years into 2 hours.
Oh,
Do
yeah,
you think that fucks with your perception of time, or do you think
For
that's just, like,
sure.
No, I don't think it messes up my perception.
It messes up my perception.
Does it?
Like when I go into a movie theater and I watch a movie that, let's say it's a movie that takes place over the course of a week, it feels like it takes forever. And then you leave, like the movie feels like it takes
Oh,
a
but,
really long time.
but you never like lose interest. Like you're still
No,
glued to.
You're still glued to it. And then you leave the theater and you feel like a lot of time has passed. And then
Yeah.
it's still light out and you go get lunch.
Yeah, I think movies are
And
under.
it's really cool. It's like a little time warp that you drop into. And you feel completely committed to it from start to finish and then kind of ends. It's like a portal.
Yeah.
When you guys watch movies, are you watching it more to like get something out of it, or just this looks sick? I want to watch it.
depends on the movie. Like
Like if you're just
documentary-
watching a movie by yourself, like Netflix on your phone, like at night, like
yeah, just something that looks interesting. Depends on like what mood I'm in. Do I want to laugh? Like I'll watch a comedy. Comedies don't do the same thing, like time warp thing for me. They're more like, little bursts of action and laughter, but like a drama or something that's like a little more intense, like that really draws you in. That's where I get that.
It's kind of crazy that like you could just watch a comedy. Like laughter is the peak happiness I think you'll ever feel.
Yeah,
I agree.
laughter's
Isn't it
the most
crazy? You can
important
just like put something on and just like be like really happy for so
Yeah,
long.
that's
like when we're in the
Isn't it
room, like,
crazy?
just dying about some stupid,
Some
ass
stupid
shit.
ass-
I like
shit.
movies like the social. Like if I'm with my friends and stuff, I'd love to watch a movie. I just never like really do it on my own.
I completely
Really?
disagree.
I don't either, but
I
I've
gotta
been,
go,
I've been
guys.
trying to get more into it. All right.
All right, so
That's you, bro.
All right, bro.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you
down.
for having me on. Sorry, yeah.
All right, bro. Good luck with everything.
Like
On your way home.
I'll be back in 7 hours.
I like watching movies with other people, but I like watching the movie. Like I'm not there to talk with the people about.
Yeah,
the movie.
that's
honestly,
fine.
I find more enjoyment watching movies by myself.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know why that is.
Like I love watching movies with people, but if I go and watch a movie with somebody, like maybe I'll be talking to them, or I'll completely ignore them and
Yeah.
watch the movie. So it kind of defeats the purpose of like watching it with them.
Yeah, fair
But
enough.
it's always nice to like drive back and forth with somebody from like a movie theater, like
Yeah,
the
it's good to watch the movie.
the pre and post movie, because then you can discuss it and like
Yeah.
share that experience.
Yeah, fair
For
enough.
sure.
When I'm out on my own, like on a flight or driving cars, probably like a podcast, which I feel like a lot of them make me laugh too.
I'm big on podcasts.
Yeah,
too.
I laugh to some podcasts. I mean,
I feel
definitely
like they
the
also
different
just make you smarter. Just listen.
Yeah, for
You just
sure.
learn like
They're
new ideas.
they're also they can be entertaining. Like I find them a lot. I think there's many different types of podcasts. Like sometimes I'll throw something on just for like enjoyment purposes. Like,
Yeah,
it's, like,
yeah.
some bullshit. Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
Joe Rogan's great.
but I think Rogan is a good like, I don't know. He has a good balance between like, because he has a lot of comedians on, but he also has like a lot of just
Smart
smart ass people on. Like, what's his name? What's that space dude's name?
Elon Musk.
No, not Elon Musk.
What's his name?
Space dude.
No,
Yeah.
No, he's like he's like an
Neil deGrasse
astrophysicist.
Tyson.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like he'll have people like
Oh, I
that
know.
on. He'll have like Jordan Peterson on.
I've
You guys
watched
know
that.
that. It's like,
Dude,
So he
I
has a
watched
good
Jordan
balance.
Peterson one, bro. That shit was so boring.
really?
I couldn't understand the thing that Jordan Peterson was saying, bro. Like I like Jordan Peterson, but on the Joe Rogan, he just like
Yeah.
he's a little bit of a yapper,
Yeah.
and Joe Rogan lets him yap. So
Yeah.
He'll talk for like an hour straight.
Yeah. I love the Rogan podcast.
Yeah, it's,
I think that that value comes from how long form it is. When you watch like clips of Rogan, it's the same thing as all the other stuff you see on social
fair
media.
enough. Yeah.
But when you get into that long form, it helps to like
Interesting.
slow your brain down a little bit, let you process it rather than just taking like the funny parts out of it.
Yeah.
There's a nice rhythm to it, right? Information, laughter, information, laughter.
Exactly.
And it helps it stick. But if you just start laughing at it, it's not the same kind of
Yeah.
value.
yeah, man.
What else?
I think that it's the when we talk about the future as negative, I think a lot of that is also just because negative things sell,
Yeah. People
and
love
I
the
feel like
word
it's not
God.
going to be as bad as we think it is.
No, I'm not worried about like dystopian, like the world's gonna turn orange and we're gonna be breathing out of like respirators.
Yeah, when you
I
said
think
worried,
that's
like
crazy.
we're
But
all gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we're all gonna live good life. Like I
Well,
don't
for
think.
us, at least for the next 100 years.
Yeah.
But I did hear this interesting perspective, which paints the world as a very negative place. I'll share it. You guys, but I feel like it has reason in it and it makes sense. So basically, we live in a world that we really believe is just. I think so, because wars are at an all-time low, famine is at an all-time low, child mortality is at an all-time low. Like medicine,
quality of life's pretty good.
we're living pretty fucking good lives. Like lives our great grandparents would have thought was impossible,
Right.
and even on a global scale. Every country is like trying to give people more freedom, trying to liberate more people. It's going up and up and up, and we feel like we're doing good for humanity. And if you look back at our past, it's been so dark, right? Like people taking advantage of each other, like people doing bad things,
Mhm.
like tyrants ruling, and it's kind of gone down. And we like to think that is because somehow in 2020 or 2000, in the year 2000, humans just decided that human rights are important. We should actually care about humans' feelings, right? This is described as humanism, like the love for human life and the value of basically human life is sacred, which really happened for the first time in like the last few decades.
Yeah.
Because even in the 20th century, the amount of war, imperialism, all that shit, like that was very, very recent. So somehow, despite 100,000 years of depression stuff. Even in hunter-gatherer societies, that shit was real. But somehow in the year 2020, it all went away. Why is that true? Well, the argument that this guy makes is that right now, if you want to become the strongest or you want to be a country that's economically stable, the best thing that you can do is have a working class of people. That's the most efficient method for surviving as a country, right? Which is why if there's some African country, for example, that is trying to become urbanized, a lot of the West African countries, for example, recently urbanized, there are strategies to give people human rights so they can have a larger workforce. And if you have a large working force, then you'll succeed as a country. And that's how like America and the Western countries succeeded, right? They gave people liberation and they allowed them to work. And capitalism, which is the economic model that succeeded in the world today, because by giving people freedom, they'll work for the economy, and the economy allows everyone as a whole to succeed. But we're transitioning into a society in the next few centuries where we're gonna start automating a lot of things.
Say it again.
We're gonna start automating, right, with AI and all these tools that are coming available. We're no longer gonna need like a huge working class of people.
Yeah.
And sure, it's automating everything is a little far away, but we'll be at a point where we don't need truck drivers, we don't need like taxi drivers, we won't need factory workers, we won't need even computer scientists and physicists and bioengineers. Like if we can automate everything, we won't need a working class of people.
Well, I think
But
we'll always
also-
need people to develop things.
I think at a point AI can almost develop itself. Let's say
If AI gets to the point where it can develop itself,
but here's the thing.
That's kind of scary.
But the
Then we
reason that's a
got-
problem, because sure, human rights can still be great, but the reason why human rights might go away is because the divide between the wealthy and the unwealthy will be huge, bigger than it's ever been
Oh, yeah.
before. Because the whole world will be ruled by a few people that own these technologies, a few people that own the AI technologies. They will rule the world, and they will honestly start to become a different species themselves because
Yeah.
we're going to start changing our bodies so much with bioengineering and this new genetic engineering where you can literally change your DNA to become like stronger and more fit.
That's crazy.
The few small minority will become so much more powerful than the weak that there's no reason why they wouldn't treat the majority as if the Europeans treated the Africans in imperialism.
Yeah.
There's no reason why, because the Nazis thought they were a different species from. They thought they were like the Aryan race, like they were the better race than the people they oppressed. And it's gonna be more and more true when they're literally physically different from the people that
Yeah.
they're gonna start oppressing. And I don't know, that's possible,
Yeah. That's scary. Scary
especially
shit.
considering that this shit is very recent.
Yeah.
it seems like it's a long way away.
Yeah, it definitely is a long way away to where people just aren't gonna like be able to. I mean, is it though? Like where people like aren't gonna have jobs anymore because like AI is just.
I don't know.
But I think jobs always change. I think there's always need for certain things.
Yeah, we talked about this on the Wood essay.
I can't see like maybe
Humans will never be obsolete.
I feel like we're just not. There's no world where we are obsolete.
Yeah,
But
I don't think
think
there's a
there's-
world where we won't need humans. I
Okay,
don't
they
think
might
that's-
need humans, but we might not need as many humans.
not as many, sure, but
So the majority could be still oppressed by the small people that own these things.
yeah,
But it's like when we look, I just think about like the ecosystem. Like we look out into the world, we're like, we don't need mosquitoes. Like if you don't need mosquitoes, then things fall apart, right? If we were to get rid of all of them, then theoretically the whole world could unravel, right? Because then things wouldn't be able to eat, and then it comes up, and then humans
there's
wouldn't be
no
able to eat.
AI like there's no new like AI mosquitoes then. Like they're always gonna be there.
Yes and no. I mean, you're always going to need you're not going to need somebody to assemble cars, but you are going to need somebody to maintain robotic arms that assemble cars.
Yeah.
Oh, for forever?
I don't know about forever, but things change.
So what are you saying? Like
I'm saying that things change and that people have to adapt. Like,
people have to adapt to change.
yeah, we probably no longer need taxi
I don't
drivers.
I don't think that humans as a species will go there. I just
No.
think that the minority will
Like the gap will become
Yeah.
larger.
the gap will be so large that it'll be pretty bad for most people.
Yeah, people think the gap is large now. I think the gap is smaller than it's ever
It's getting
been.
larger.
As far as quality of
It's getting
life, though. But as far as quality of life,
Oh, sure.
I
That's
think
true,
that the really, really wealthy, minus like private jets and big houses, live very,
Yeah,
very
quality of life is
similar
the- yeah.
quality
Yeah,
of life
I
to
agree.
what even the lower part of population lives. Like everybody has access to clean water. They can watch movies. They can do all these things.
Yeah.
Like pretty
Yeah.
much at
But
will.
again, the reason for that corner of the argument is because right now it is most economically viable to have a working class of people, which is why why we pursued human rights?
Yeah.
Tough question.
I don't know. Yeah, it's tough. I don't know enough about it. And also if it's not gonna like really affect me in my lifetime.
There's no point talking about it. It's fun though.
Well, no. Not that there's no point, but like I'm personally not like scared about like not being able to like work with Mulder or not being able to like be successful. I don't know.
Just like,
But it is an
like
interesting.
when you look at Wall Street, right? There were brokers 20 years ago. Now there are software engineers.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's 20 years.
Yeah,
I think it was.
so like,
Spent the time on it.
but that change has happened like, gradually over that time, right? And there were people who were making trades. Now they're quant engineers who do math. Sorry, can't talk about that. But the point is that like the role of people and what they do in different sectors has changed. It already has changed, and it's going to keep changing. But as long as you keep adapting, you're going to be able to find a way to contribute to society.
I agree.
I think that there's like still roles for manual labor, and there's gonna be different roles for everybody to do different kind of things. Like, right, we need plumbers right now. We need electricians. Like, that's something that we need.
I hope
That-
so. Yeah.
They're super underrepresented.
Yeah.
And there's like a really high demand for people to do lots of manual labor. So, like, you could say that yes, the world's gone more automated, but it really hasn't.
Bro,
Not yet.
imagine an AI taxi driver. Or like an
They already
AI.
That's-
so in
self-driving
San
cars.
Francisco, there's a self
Yeah,
driving
but dude,
car.
that's
Imagine
scary.
an AI
You call
car.
an Uber and a fucking robot picks you up.
That's-
Some shit.
But the whole car would be the robot.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like a fucking robot car.
Sgro, what's your number one dating advice?
Dating advice: don't be like me. No, you gotta be confident.
Yeah,
You
it's
gotta go off and talk to people. Don't wait.
Oh
The
wait.
longer you wait, the more it can go wrong. I think lots of people psych themselves out. I psych myself out a lot. Yeah, you assume like that the world's gonna end, but like people forget about things and it kind of goes back
Yeah,
to
so
how it
it's
was
always
before.
just way less of a.
It's never
You
as
create-
great.
You create narratives in your mind.
Yeah, you just gotta kind of.
You
But
can be
again,
anything you want.
yeah.
That's what it kind of applies to everything. Like you want to go, if you're gonna like what we were saying about sports, if you let the intrusive thoughts win, you're not gonna succeed. You're gonna be all nervous
Yeah,
and
man,
tight
it's like-
and shaky and sweaty.
Yeah,
and
bro.
it's gonna be a problem.
Bro, I've been big on mindfulness recently.
Yeah, if you're just mindful and having perspective, you
Yeah.
gotta have perspective. Like realistically, if something's meant to happen or if something's like gonna work, it's gonna work.
Yeah.
If not, it wasn't meant to happen, or it's probably not a big deal. And
Right.
you have a lot more time in your life to fix it.
Thank you, Jackson. All right, let's leave it at that. It's been about an hour 15, probably.
Sounds good.
We'll get another one with Veg.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
you get
sometime during,
Beshi on the podcast.
maybe sometime during the week.
Yeah,
I would love to do
A little
one with Veg.
political discussion with Beshi.
I'll be excited. for
Special
that, bro.
segment.
Let's do it.
You really should do that.
Thanks for having us on, though.
Yeah, it's been
With the
fun.
viral
We'll do it
segment.
again for sure.
All right, thank you, man.
Peace, guys. If you enjoyed that episode with Ryan Murphy, Siddharth Karthodi, and Jackson Sgro, then you're going to love this episode right here with Brock and Connor. Make sure you hit that link right now to watch that video, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.